Hi, and welcome to Deepwell Archival Services. In today's brief 3-minute video, we're going to discuss the old adage, if it appreciates, buy it, and if it depreciates, lease it. So we're going to change that a little bit. We're going to say if it appreciates or if it generates income for your imaging organization or your imaging practice, by all means buy it or make a long-term investment in it. And if it depreciates, in the case of archival storage, for example, cloud it. Use cloud technologies. So what do we mean by that? Well, let's look at the fundamental assets of any imaging organization. Certainly at the heart of it all, I think we've got the physicians, the eyes and the education and experience of the doctors, the technicians, certainly your nursing staff, administrative staff. I think we would all agree that the fundamental resource component of any imaging organization is the human resource component. Now, so what do we surround that fundamental human resources, human expertise component with? Well, certainly we've got modalities. We have to have pictures, for these physicians, these radiologists and doctors to look at. Well, how do we get those pictures? Well, we get them obviously from modalities. There's always been a or I would say a lease versus buy discussion around this type of equipment. This is capital equipment, with a useful life of, technological useful life of 5 to 7 years. So there are often, reasons to make a buy versus lease decision here, but that's best left to the bean counters and the accountants and the business analysts. But what else do we have? A fundamental component. Well, once you take a picture, you have to catalog it. You have to store it for long periods of time. What's the customer-facing technology that does that? Well, it's the PACS. Again, there are arguments for and against lease versus buy decisions on the PACS side. And then you've got the real core assets, from a non-human resource perspective. The office building, you might have to, an imaging organization might look at owning real estate assets as opposed to renting or leasing those assets. And if you own the building, of course, you need to own certain infrastructure in that building. But, one asset that should never, and I wouldn't even call it an asset, one liability that's associated with an asset, the asset being the images or the data, that should never be owned is the long-term archive infrastructure. I mean, look at this mess. This is a very typical archive infrastructure: magneto-optical shelved media. You've got disk storage, replication requirements for, to meet the HIPAA security rule requirements for disaster recovery and business continuity. They're just fraught with problems. As soon as you start buying archive storage, you're buying interoperability issues. 2 and 3 years down the line, the need to overbuy storage, capacity expansions, data migrations. I mean, all these are very real issues that anyone that's been in the imaging industry for longer than about 2 minutes is very familiar, with these issues associated with long-term archive storage. So one thing you should never, I think we would all agree, never ever own the archive storage. It's just too complex. Typically the storage infrastructure, is going to have a much shorter life than the requirement to retain the actual image and diagnostic study data itself. So you've got equipment that's going to basically come to end of useful life long before the retention requirement for the image data. So what do? Well, we look to the cloud. With a cloud, I like to talk about cloud-based archival storage for diagnostic study data as if you lease a car and you automatically get the new model every year with no increase in your payment. Your cloud provider should have purpose-built infrastructure here. You should automatically get access to latest, greatest storage technologies through your provider. Make sure you have those discussions well in advance of making a decision. You should always own your data. You should always have a means to get your data back in the event that you leave this service provider. And you should be able to access all this technology at a very cost-effective price, much less expensive than what you would be paying to, for example, own your own infrastructure. So we believe in the cloud and taking advantage of cloud technologies, especially for vendor-neutral archive technology delivered as a cloud-based service. We hope you enjoyed the presentation. We thank you for your interest in Deepwell, and we look forward to seeing you next time on our next informative video. Thank you for your interest in Deepwell.